Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Courtroom Insider. I'm Nate Eaton. As you can tell, I'm in a hotel room. I've been traveling a little bit this week, working on some interviews and other projects that I'll have here in the next few weeks. There's so many things that I can't wait to bring you. I just can't do it yet. But September is going to be a big month for Courtroom Insider, so I hope you'll stay tuned for that. Hope you're having a good week and enjoying yourself. Back to school time all over the place, and it's fall is coming. Things are getting a little crisper in the air, and I'm excited for that. Anyway, let me know where you're watching from if you have any questions. Tonight we are going to be focused on the investigation into Travis Decker. In just a few minutes here, I'm going to have the sheriff on here who has been leading the investigation from day one. And we had a pretty in-depth conversation just a minute ago that I'll be playing for you. For those that aren't familiar with the case, it's horrible. And I remember I was in Arizona getting ready to cover Lori Vallow's trial when this case broke, I believe back in June. Travis Decker's three daughters, Peyton, who's 9, Evelyn, who's 8, and Olivia, who's 5, were found dead in a Washington state campground on June 2nd, according to police. Their father is accused of killing them and then going on the run. He could be dead somewhere. He could be alive somewhere. It's obviously been nearly 3 months since these girls were found and since Decker vanished. And so you can only live on the land for so long. Eventually you're going to run out of food. You're going to run out of money. Here's a timeline of what we know. Whitney Decker is their mother. And he picked up the girls on May 30th at their home in Wenatchee Valley. He talked to his ex-wife for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then he said, "I'll be back at 8 o'clock," and he left, and he never came back. Whitney Decker contacted police that evening with a civil complaint. She said that she had not heard from Travis, that he didn't bring the girls home at the scheduled time. She attempted to call him multiple times. His cell phone went straight to voicemail. And he had never done anything like this before. He was able to be reached in the past. She also noted that he was experiencing some mental health issues. The next day, police learned that Travis Decker and his daughters did not arrive at a 5K event where they were supposed to go. The police announced that the girls were gone and that Travis Decker was, quote, homeless and living in his vehicle or at various hotels or motels or camping grounds in the area. Police at the time did not issue an Amber Alert because the criteria for an Amber Alert had not been reached yet, but they did issue an endangered missing person alert through Washington State Patrol. June 2nd, a few days later, at approximately 3 o'clock, the authorities find Decker's vehicle unoccupied near a campground in the Rock Island campground. Additional law enforcement officers respond, and they find the bodies of the girls, but they don't find Travis Decker. They begin to search for Travis Decker, who is a former member of the military who has extensive training. He is charged with 3 counts of murder and 3 counts of first-degree kidnapping. 2 days after the girls were found, the manhunt continues, and the police say that he could be anywhere in the nation. And these stories happen. And as time goes on, they tend to fade from the headlines because, what's new? What's new to report on? That's why I wanted to do this story tonight, to hopefully put it back front and center so we can think about it. There was reports that Decker was possibly in Idaho at the beginning of June. A camper said there was someone that looked just like him in McCall. The investigators were able to track down that man. It turns out he did look like him, but it was not Travis Decker. Court documents then this past week or so have been released and just show the horrific nature in which these girls died. There were plastic bags over the heads of each of the girls, and their wrists were zip tied. In Travis Decker's vehicle, they found zip ties. They found plastic bags all over the place. They found 2 handprints of blood on the tailgate of the truck. Authorities also learned that Decker was well-versed in wilderness survival, that he could possibly spend several days, maybe even weeks in the wilderness. We also know that he served in Afghanistan and he, was in the military, but he had administration separation it began in 2023 and 2024, but it was never completed. So in on June 5th, the Travis Decker, it was revealed that he lacked mental health resources and struggled with PTSD. And there were people, the attorney for the family, for the ex-wife of the father of Travis Decker, said that there were no red flags and that he loved his girls very much. So on June 9th, an autopsy was performed on the girls. The cause of death was suffocation, manner of death was homicide. They continued to collect evidence, blood samples, human and non-human from the scene. There was DNA and fingerprint analysis done. The dog was recovered and turned over to the Humane Society for care, so the dog was there. And then on June 10th, they checked out his Google searches and found out that he had searched for how does a person move to Canada and how to relocate to Canada. A reward of $20,000 was announced to find him. Additionally, more photos were released of Travis Decker, of what he could look like if he had altered his appearance with a mustache, a goatee, or whatever. A memorial was then held, and the police continued to put this front and center. The search expanded. That bloody handprint did match the DNA of Travis Decker. There was also video that was released a few days before he vanished so that people could get a good look at him. And Travis Decker, 3 days apparently before he picked up the kids and vanished, he was in a parking lot of a grocery store and rear-ended another person's vehicle. Throughout the 20-minute video, Travis Decker, seen wearing a white shirt and dark shorts, leans against his pickup truck, crosses his arms, talks to a police officer and the individual who hit his car. It was a fender bender. There was no insurance, or he would get a ticket. The police told him for following too close and for not having insurance. This is reporting that ABC News did, and it was just a normal type of occurrence, that you could say happened there in the parking lot. And fast forward to the end of July, the police, nearly 2 months in, said they were scaling down the manhunt just because they had put so much time and resources into it. Beginning of August, there were some other possible sightings, but it turns out that, they weren't him. They weren't able to find him. And then a press release just a few days ago from the sheriff's office said that two separate, describing the condition in which the girls had been found, and there were several cable ties found in the area, and that the DNA was collected from those plastic bags and the cable ties and the zip ties and whatnot. And they did confirm that they were the girls. On August 23rd, just a few days ago, the FBI announced that they were closing all of the Rock Island campground so that they could conduct their investigation. And it was for 3 or 4 days. They actually opened it, they're opening it today. They opened it this morning at 6 a.m. Roads and trailheads were closed off to the public. That's where we stand for now. And winter's coming. It's getting cold. If Travis Decker is alive, how is he going to survive out there? It is possible that he could be living in a homeless camp, or something somewhere like that. You just don't know where he could be. It's also very possible and likely that he's dead. I know many of you think he's dead, and many of you believe that he took his own life, and that's very possible as well. But until they find him, until they find his body, until they find his remains or find him alive, the investigation continues. And I had the privilege today of speaking in depth with Sheriff Mike Morrison about this case. This is a small county, 80,000 or so people live there in Washington, and he was generous with his time. And so here is my interview with the sheriff. Sheriff, if you wouldn't mind just starting off by telling me what's the latest on the investigation.
So we just conducted a 2-day follow-up search of the area with the FBI leading that. So we had the U.S. Army's Criminal Investigation Division also involved, U.S. Marshal Service, Port of Seattle, Yakima Police Department, Spokane County Sheriff's Office was also present, the U.S. Forest Service, our agency, And so our detectives who are still leading the criminal investigation side of it communicate a little bit with U.S. Marshals that are leading the search side of it. The FBI came in, advised that Washington, D.C. had freed up some additional funding, wanted to see some further efforts and work on this. So they went and brought in some more resources. We had 100 plus were on the ground total. Brought in some new equipment. AT&T's FirstNet came out with a mobile cell tower out there. We had Starlink for our command post, and then everyone's phones were linked up for a grid pattern search. We initially had anticipated that we were going to cover about a quarter-mile radius, but we ended up getting out to about a 1 mile by half-mile radius search. Just grid through. There were a couple items that we located that have been sent off. We had Central Washington University's anthropology department that is also assisting. And we also had the FBI's crime lab and analysis team out there to also assess a couple pieces of evidence. Primary function is just to make sure that we had it well documented, that, again, we've searched the area. Any other investigative teams that come in the future can show what areas we've already checked. I know that we'll have another operation coming on here in September just to expand out further. We continue to follow up on leads, continue to get emails, tips coming in, and we appreciate those county, state, and federal partners, along with international partners that have followed up on some of these leads. And we're just continuing to do what we can to utilize the resources we have effectively and hopefully bring some closure to the family and, make sure the voices of Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia are heard.
Do you believe that he's still alive?
There's always a probability that he could be alive. We're certainly looking towards the probability also that he's deceased, but at this time we can't tell. He's just unaccounted for is how I keep classifying him.
Right. I mean, if he's still alive, obviously at one point he's going to run out of money or food or whatnot. Has there been any sign of credit card use or digital, phone usage moving around at all?
We know that he was cut off from all of his benefits from VA. He no longer has a job because his employer, of course, has not seen him showing up to work. We know that he was unemployed at the time this event happened. He was living out of his truck. He did not have financial resources really to access. We talked with his family. So we know that it'd be tough for him to go out there in society and start over. Also, we've been working really hard to stay in touch with the media to make sure his face is out there. We don't want him to blend in. And, the U.S. Marshal Service is also assisting us in tracking him. If he were to go into society, I mean, we're tracking every single thing he does, everything he's been connected with in his life, anyone he's ever talked to, we're tracking it. And we appreciate the U.S. Marshals for taking it on. This is what they do. This is their area of expertise. And we recognize that we have a unique challenge. We were just watching our partners to the north, Okanagan County Sheriff's Office. They had a homicide where unfortunately 2 of their residents were brutally murdered. Deputies arrived on scene as the suspect saw them, took off running. It was 3 years later that their office was able to locate him deceased in Spokane in a homeless camp. So we recognize there are other cases like this where they've been looking for a suspect for several years. And we're still optimistic that we will find Travis. We'll hold him accountable. We'd like to see him alive so he can stand in front of our judges. But if he's deceased, we also understand that brings a certain level of closure for Whitney, which is the mom of Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia, the family, and of course, our communities.
Yeah, how is Whitney holding up, Sheriff?
As well it can be expected. Quite a devastating loss to lose your 3 girls, your world, in a sense. And we understand she's never going to recover from this. This is something that she said, even 65 years down the road, it's going to be fresh in her memory. And what parent would not have this keeping them up at night? But she's resilient. She's impressive. She's a strong individual. I really appreciated her taking the time to speak with me here a couple of days ago. She stayed in contact with us through Wenatchee Police Department. And we want to make sure that her voice is still heard. She's still very much part of this process. We want to respect her privacy as well, to let her know we haven't given up. And we just really appreciate just the individual she is, the family overall for being supportive of us. And, weathering through a lot of attention. I mean, it's really hard when we're still discussing this. We're still looking for him to try to get some closure on this and move on. So we're going to try to do our part to support her as much as possible. But again, I would not hesitate to call her an amazing, resilient woman who's just uniquely strong. I watched her present and talk to the community during the memorial service for the girls, and it was a sight to see. My hat's off to her.
Yeah. I know that early on, Sheriff, there was a possible sighting of who at the time people thought might be Mr. Decker here in Idaho. That turned out not to be the case. Has
Yeah.
there been any other sightings of him or reported sightings of him?
Several. I just had one up in Canada. We had another one down in Texas. So, I mean, we recognize that individuals are calling in to assist us and help. And we appreciate that. We know that we could not do this job by ourselves. This is one of the reasons I've cited over and over. We're a medium-sized agency. We have limited resources. If we didn't have our federal partners coming in to assist us, I don't think we'd be as far along in this process as we are. Same with our state partners, with Washington State Patrol, our local partners here for county and municipal agencies, and most importantly, the public. I mean, if we didn't have those eyes nationwide, we'd certainly be behind the curve. And that's why I've told Travis, if he's still alive out there, you got a lot of people looking for you and gunning for you. So keep running.
I will say you guys have done a pretty good job posting updates and getting the word out, keeping his face out there. For people that haven't been up to the area, what would you mind just describing the terrain you're looking at?
So anyone who goes back through and looks at the history, you look at BNSF Railway and their process of putting in, we are considered to be the Alps of the West when you start talking the Cascade Mountains. You start getting into wooded terrain, the heavy brush, and just the other obstacles that are out there. You have mine shafts out there, you have caves, you have wildlife, you have extreme heat that's been here over the summertime. We have very unique terrain. We do over 100 plus search and rescues, and those are for individuals who went out there prepared to take some of these challenges on. And we recognize it's challenging. It's challenging terrain. It costs a lot of people their lives every single year. And we're going to continue to push through there and do our best to search for it. But it is not easy. This is not an urban setting. You are out in the wilderness. You have 8,000 plus foot peaks. You have heavy brush, and you have fast moving creeks and streams. It claims also a lot of lives every single year. So this is not your typical terrain that searches are on. But we know we're not the only law enforcement agency nationwide that has taken on this kind of terrain. We've seen a couple searches that we saw down south on the East Coast, and I think we have the right crew on the ground to take on this challenge.
Do you know, Sheriff, was there one particular incident that may have set him off to do this?
No, so far what we've seen, and I've been talking with our detectives, and I've been talking to our behavioral analysts that have also come through with the U.S. Marshal Service and FBI, this is inexplicable. No one can do this to their kids, but whatever happened, happened. I'm not going to give him any kind of justification. He's a murderer. That's what we have right now. And unless he's got other information to show us that he's not, we're going to continue to keep him as our primary suspect. But it's just a heinous crime. It's unacceptable. It's evil. And we will ensure that justice is served.
You mentioned all of the agencies that are helping out, which obviously is a big assist to you and your department. The FBI coming in, does that free up additional resources, or how will that help you guys going forward?
Well, they were already on the ground with us from day one. We're grateful for them. The Seattle office really stepped up. And the fact that we got additional support from DC to provide additional funding. If you were to go across the street and let's say like the figure's $2 million, and I were to ask my board of county commissioners for $2 million to continue to search, I would probably be asked to leave their chambers. Not because they're not interested, but we just don't have that kind of access to funds. So we are grateful for the U.S. Marshal Service, the U.S. Forest Service, the FBI. We have HSI that has assisted us in the past. That's Homeland Security Investigations. We've had Border Patrol come in and assist us, along with other county sheriff's offices, Spokane County, King County, Snohomish County with their aviation units. Those three agencies plus ours are the only four agencies in Washington State that have helicopters, and they've been up in the air extensively. We've had Spokane PD coming over with their drone team. We had Kittitas County Sheriff's Office coming in with their expertise, having a similar manhunt that they conducted here in the same area several years ago. So the fact that all these agencies have put down what they're doing to come up and assist us is imperative. There's no way we could have taken this on by ourselves. We're grateful. We recognize the financial burden that put onto those agencies and their communities that pay their tax dollars into them. So I want to say thank you from Chelan County and the Chelan County Sheriff's Office to all those agencies that have assisted. You start getting into our support groups as well. You're looking at behavioral health units that have come over. You've looked at peer support, crisis intervention, stress management teams that have come in to support our deputies that have gone through and are also dealing with the trauma that comes with dealing with these kind of cases. So the health and well-being of our deputies and those that assisted us on the physical and mental side has also been an area of focus for us. But I mean, just financially, what a huge burden. So the FBI coming back in and offering services to say, hey, we want to expand out the search you guys have already done. We brought in some different technology, subject matter experts, and different theories. We're grateful, appreciative, And again, I was just talking to the agent out of Yakima, Agent Orth, and I really appreciate the fact that he said, we're not going anywhere. We're with you guys. We're going to see this through to the end. And those are the kind of partners that we want to keep by our sides. And I know there's been a lot of narratives coming in about state entities cooperating and working with federal government agencies. This is 100% why we do it. We're more effective when we team up and we do things. We understand that each government agency has their own job and their own assignment, and sometimes there's barriers that do prevent us from working with them within a certain extent. But if we didn't have those kind of partnerships and we didn't have them alongside of us, we'd be less effective, and we're grateful for that.
Right. How do you go through all of the tips now that this has become such a worldwide story? And I'm sure a lot of the tips aren't anything, and then some of them might be something. I mean, do you have someone dedicated to that, or how are you handling all those?
Yeah, the U.S. Marshal Service really gets a lot of credit. They've been following up on all their tips that have been getting forwarded over to them. I'd say beforehand too, the FBI and their office coming in with their team to go through, process it, put it in spreadsheets, assign people to go through. That's how we were able to take in the amount of information we are getting at first. Again, if it had just been the Chelan County Sheriff's Office trying to take that on, we would have been overwhelmed immediately. And again, it was the federal partnerships that we had there that went through, had the resources available to assist us. And you saw really an effective rolling out of services and efforts. And I know a lot of people said, yeah, but Sheriff, you haven't found him. Yep, we recognize we have not found him yet. We have not given up. And again, we have been successful. Anyone that wants to come in and critique us, we're open to that. But for those that have said that, we've failed, yeah, you fail when you give up and you quit. And no one here has quit. We're going to continue to dig. We're going to continue to pursue. And for those of them that want to be negative minded, step aside and let the professionals do what they want to do. He will be captured. He will be found. It may not be today. It may not be tomorrow. But again, there's going to be generation after generation of people who put this uniform on, and their determination and their desire is going to be the same as mine. Justice will be served, and there will be closure to this case.
I imagine the majority of the public stands behind you. Doesn't think that you're slacking off. Can I ask?
No.
Yeah, oh, go ahead.
Overwhelming support from our community
Right. Yeah.
nationwide, but we hear those that want to be critical of us, and we just take it as additional fuel to keep driving on. But again, I'm proud of our team. I'm proud of our investigators. Our detectives have worked tirelessly on there. We have a solid criminal case. When this comes to fruition and we get to go to court, I am positive that we will get a conviction. When it comes to the efforts that are being put out there to search, I have every single member that I could ask for. I would call this a dream team, to have the U.S. Marshal Service, the U.S. Forest Service, Border Patrol, the FBI, and even the U.S. Army's Criminal Investigation Division that they've come and put their time up there. No better team I could ask for than that. And I'm appreciative of it.
Yeah. Sheriff, how long have you been in office?
We're going on 2.5 years, just finishing up my third year. Next year will be an election year for me, and that's the ultimate tale. The citizens will say, Sheriff Morrison, we've appreciated what you've done. Please stay in office, or we no longer need your services. Otherwise, I'm proud to serve. I love this position. I love law enforcement. It's not a job; it's a calling. It is everything I've wanted. I've enjoyed the challenge of being sheriff. I understand there's always been learning curves, but this has been a great one so far to take on a case of this magnitude. And I recognize I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the skill sets, but I do know those individuals that do have answers that can help me out when I don't know. And our subject matter experts in those areas that I don't know well. So I'm loving it. I'm loving serving the citizens. And most importantly, my primary goal here is to make sure the voices of Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia are heard, and that Travis is standing in front of our judges, being held accountable for what we believe he did.
And how long have you been in law enforcement?
January will be 20 years for me.
20 years. So
Yeah.
looking back over the 20 years, I imagine you hate to compare cases because for the victims, that's the most important thing in their life or the hardest thing in their life.
Yeah.
How would you compare investigating this thing versus the past 20 years?
This is by far, I think, the most difficult case I've seen personally or professionally. The weight of seeing 3 young girls murdered, let alone by their father, is devastating. I mean, it has taken a toll on our deputies. We recognize that. That's why we push so hard to have psychologists on scene, behavioral analysts on scene. We have our behavioral health team here as well. We had peer support, crisis intervention stress management teams in here. We brought in dogs. I mean, we want to support our people, but this is really a tough tough case, and it's been hard on our community. And I can't even imagine, I can't put myself in that place. I have kids myself. But to be a parent and lose their kids, let alone in this kind of nature, is devastating. I would certainly say this one will last and it'll linger, it'll resonate. Certainly have dealt with other homicides that have been horrific, and I certainly feel for their families and not trying to compare, but this one hit differently.
Yeah, yeah. And I know a minute ago you said a little bit of a message to Travis Decker that you're going to find him. Anything else that you would want to say? Should he be watching this interview?
Yeah, I have no ill will towards him. I believe that he made a horrific mistake. He needs to take accountability for that. We certainly don't want to see any harm come to him. We've encouraged those that are out looking for him, that have made comments that they want to hurt him or take justice in their own hands. That's not the way the system's set up here in the United States. He will get a fair trial. He will have the opportunity to provide his side of the story, but we are not going to give up. We're not going to relent. We'll continue to pursue. We are going to look for him because not only does our community expect that, but Peyton, Evelyn, Olivia, your daughters would expect you to take responsibility. You were supposed to be their protector, provider. You failed, and this is your opportunity to make up for that failure and be the man you should have been at the time this happened. So you failed. You made the wrong decision, and it's time to step up, take accountability for it, and be the father you should have been. So you still have family out there that is concerned about your well-being and wants to see you come back safely, but only you can make that determination. We're not going to give up, though. We're going to continue to look.
For members of the public, do you need their assistance? Can people be involved somehow?
Every single day, not just in this case. If we don't have our community behind us, supporting us, being additional eyes, we fail as an agency. We're simply a representative of them. They've selected us. They put us in this position. We only have about 60 personnel when we're fully staffed here that are out there working. We need millions of people out there with eyes searching, assisting us, providing information. Again, we can't do it alone. We need the public's help. The reason we've been so successful here at Chelan County as a sheriff's office and an agency overall is because we have a community that loves us, supports us. We don't take that for granted. We work hard to try to maintain that relationship. We have a motto here, and that is of the people, for the people. We certainly recognize we are members of our community. We're for our community, but we need our community too. So we can't be successful. Again, we've had probably one of the highest closure rates in the state when it comes to investigations, thanks to our detectives. But a lot of that comes back to just people who were observant, reporting stuff in, helping us out, and willing to do the right thing for the right reason.
Yeah. Sheriff, is there anything that you want to add?
Just that we appreciate the media being out there, continuing to put this story out there. We're not looking for attention. We're simply looking for closure for this case. And we understand that if we don't have this out on a nationwide platform, because we understand that he could be out at a national level or even an international level. And for those that are concerned, are we out there communicating? We are working with our international partners. We have worked closely with law enforcement agencies internationally, Canada, overseas in England as well. So we understand we can't do this alone. The U.S. Marshals have been a great partner in this. But again, we're appreciative of everything everyone's done, support, and most importantly, the patience. We're frustrated as well that we haven't brought Travis in yet, but we're not going to let that deter us from doing our job.
How big is your county? How many people?
So we have about 80,000. We're at 80,200 roughly. And
Okay.
the most challenging part we have is 2,900 square miles, 87%, which is not accessible by road. We discussed those search and rescues. That's a daunting task.
Right.
So we have some very isolated areas, and that's why when we're discussing it, we are familiar with being out in these areas, just not in this capacity with doing a search.
Right.
One thing was kind of unique is that we do have a national park up in Stehekin at the end of Lake Chelan. So National Park Service brought their tactical team in, and that was it was really interesting talking to them because we have a very talented SWAT team that we utilize regionally. But I would have to concede that we are not used to deploying in that kind of terrain. It was pointed out to us. It wasn't that anyone was being critical. They're like, hey, this is something certainly that you should look at for your team to train in a little bit more. Because when it comes to urban settings and even somewhat rural settings, if you get more in the county environment, I mean, we've done pretty good. But wilderness deployments, that's a different beast. We haven't seen that before.
Right.
We've seen it on the search and rescue side, but never on a tactical side where we have someone who could be a danger to us too. And it's been a good learning experience. You talk about things you don't know coming in as a newly elected administrator, and there's been some things. I mean, I think we had two officer involved shootings my first year. That was a unique challenge because we hadn't had one in a while.
Yeah.
And then you got into some unique crises as well. And wildfires are always a challenge, as you know as well, being there in this tinderbox of a Northwest area.
Right.
Have something like this come on we've had some homicides, but not like this, not like a manhunt.
No.
Yeah,
The weather coming up with winter in your part of the state, do you get snow? Does it get really cold?
we do. So when we first initiated this effort, people were asking, like, well, he hit the PCT. There was 6+ feet of snow on the PCT still
Oh,
within our county. So yeah, traversing it was not easy.
yeah.
Again, thanks to Border Patrol. I mean, they had their personnel in there. We had Yakima County SWAT team, King County SWAT team, Snohomish County, our SWAT team, also deployed on the PCT. I think that's something a lot of these teams had not seen before.
Right.
And if Travis was able to survive and get out there, once he's done with his jail sentence, he should maybe go on and look at being the survivor if he is able to get through this. Because there's, I think, probably easier ways to make money. He might be one of those guys that wins. Because you watch the show, those guys don't typically when wintertime hits, they tap out.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
and I'm thinking that if he is still alive and he's out there, winter's going to be brutal for him. I don't care what he put out there supply
I
wise.
was going to ask, do you know if he has any winter gear, boots, snow gear?
We recognize there's a problem. You remember a case several years ago? I don't know how familiar you are with Washington one. It was outside of North Bend. It was just east of Seattle, and the guy had built a bunker in the hill, and he had been building it for years, and to put a bunch of supplies out there. This could be a case. I mean, we know he's been in this area before. We know this military unit had trained out here before. If he really had planned this out, which I have some questions, there's some things that lead me to believe he did not plan this out.
Mm,
But if he did actually stage equipment out there and had things set up for like long range survival, it's a possibility. But even then, I mean, I've gone camping for 4 or 5 days in my camper. That's a lot of prep. That's a lot of food. That's a lot of work.
right.
And, I'm also familiar with some of the wildlife out there. I don't think he's got enough that he's going to be able to survive off of what's out there animal wise. And someone who's got that ability to survive off the land, they're rare individuals. And I don't believe Travis is one of those individuals.
Right.
Respectfully, I'm not trying to degrade him, but just based off what I've learned from his military training, I think people have given him too much credit. He's not a Rambo-like figure. He was not special forces. His brother and his dad are special forces. And even those guys and some of the people assigned to the U.S. Marshals team, the FBI, who have been instructors for like Green Berets and the Rangers, they're like, we don't do survival, evasion, rescue, and escape as a basic level in Ranger school, which he did attend. He did not pass,
Mm,
but he goes, they're not teaching that kind of stuff there. So he does not have that skill set based off his military training. Maybe he got something in the civilian world, but even his dad and his brother are like, he's not bright.
yeah. Hmm.
And I mean, they weren't trying to be degrading, but they were just like,
Being on.
he's kind of a knucklehead.
Right. Right.
And and his wife said the same thing. He's not a brilliant man. And I'm not, yeah, I try to be respectful. I don't want to belittle anybody, but I mean, the reality is the reality. And we still recognize though, blind squirrels find acorns.
Right.
So maybe he's finding acorns out there and he's surviving and he's getting the breaks he needs, but eventually your luck runs out. And we talk about, and I brought up several times, the 96 Olympic bomber, and that manhunt went on for 5 years. And the sheriff for Walla Walla County, Mark Kreider, he was part of the FBI team at that time searching for him. That was a 5 year search. And eventually, a patrol officer found him dumpster diving, getting stuff out of the trash can, surviving. And even he was like, I give up. I'm your guy. And that was after 5 years. So
Right.
eventually, I think that will to want to elude us will dwindle. But I just don't see how you live if you've taken your daughter's lives. And from what I understand, talking with individuals who knew him before, his daughters were his life. That was the centerpiece of his life. He was very proud, very involved. So that's why this makes zero sense to me. Why you would kill your focal point of your life unless you plan on taking your own life.
Especially in such a brutal manner.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad if I have to raise my voice to my kids.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm going to hold them accountable, but yeah, I couldn't imagine anything like this.
Sheriff,
So
one
it's just
question.
disconnected.
What are there any misconceptions that you want to clear up?
I mean, I think a lot of people are out making suggestions, and we do listen to our public. It's very important, like you guys aren't doing this and this. I would just stress too, we're not going to disclose every single thing that we've done in our investigation or every single piece of evidence we have. One thing that we really tried to clear up here is that a couple weeks ago, we put out a press release and it was very graphic. And I didn't put this out lightly because I don't like to go into the details about this murder. I will not talk about the girls in that way. But the thing that we wanted to put out there is every single bit of evidence that we've collected only shows Travis as our suspect. If there was another person on scene that somehow was able to overpower him and do this to his girls, there would have been something there to show us that he was there. And we have very sophisticated teams on the ground working with us. This is not the first time they've ever processed something like this. The Washington State Patrol's crime lab, I think, is one of the best crime lab teams and crime scene processing teams in the nation. Hands down, Chief Batiste and his team do an excellent job. They processed several scenes. They came to our scene. They processed it over a span of several days and were meticulous and methodical. They weren't rushed. And every piece of evidence that we found shows that only the girls, Travis, and the dog were on scene. We're not seeing an extra person. So we really wanted to put that to rest because I think other people are like, why aren't you looking for others? Our suspect is 100% Travis. That's the only person we're looking for right now. If anyone else has any kind of evidence that would show someone else was there, we're all ears. But that is something that we really wanted to focus on. There was no one else that we have an interest in besides Travis at this time. And that's not just based off our opinion. That's just based off of hard evidence that was collected, processed, and all the other investigative work that we put in behind the scenes and information we've gathered. That's our guy. That's who we're looking for. And we have done quite a bit behind the scenes that we're not going to disclose because we don't want to jeopardize the investigation here or the quality of the case that we're putting forth. When the time comes to go to trial, they can start responding back to what we gathered. But again, I feel very confident in the case that our detectives have put together, and we're looking forward to our opportunity to go to court.
Well, Sheriff,
It's just, yeah.
oh, I was going to say our best to you and all of the investigators. Thank you for taking so much time to find him, and thank you for keeping us updated and for chatting with me today.
Well, I appreciate the continued interest in this. We understand that eventually these cases start to lose focus, and yeah, we haven't lost focus. We're glad that it's still out there. We hope his face is plastered out there until we can account for him.
I really appreciate the sheriff making time for us here on Courtroom Insider to talk with us. I know many of you have followed this case. It happened in early June. I was in Arizona, as I mentioned, covering the Daybell trial, and those beautiful little girls. I remember seeing their photos and thinking about my daughter and just wondering how someone could do something so horrific. And in fact, I'm reading the Shasta Groney book, Out of the Woods by Greg Olson. I interviewed him a few weeks ago, and there's some similarities in the cases. Going to a campground, how he killed Shasta's brother Dylan. There's some similarities. They're not 100%, but lately I've been thinking about this and in the zone, and so I just hope that that there can be answers, that this man can be found, and if he's alive, as the sheriff said, he can face the charges, and if he's dead, at least we know that he's no longer here. And the deaths of Peyton and Evelyn and Olivia, of course, will remain on our minds, and their poor mother who lost her family. I want to thank you for watching tonight. I want to thank newspapers.com. They're the sponsor of Courtroom Insider. They've been a great partner to be with. If you haven't checked them out, you should go check them out. Newspapers.com. Get a 7-day trial. They're going to be at CrimeCon next week. I cannot believe it's next week. We'll be there too. I'm going to do an interview with them. I'm going to take you behind the scenes. If you can't make it, Eric is going to be there. And if you can make it, I'd love to meet you. You can still use that promo code EATON, EATON, and get 10% off a standard badge. Meet the people at newspapers.com. And let me know if you can't make it who you want me to interview, because there's so many presenters. If you go to crimecon.com, you can see all of the presenters, and I go behind the scenes and backstage, and I grab people and try to interview them quickly. Let me know if there's someone you want me to interview, because I'd love to hear your perspective. There's so many people I can't wait to see there at CrimeCon, especially the folks at newspapers.com. I thank them for their sponsorship, and hopefully if you get a chance to meet them, thank them for sponsoring Courtroom Insider, because that allows us to do more of these types of programs that aren't focused on, one particular case. With that being said, we're going to have more Courtroom Insiders here in the next few weeks, working on a schedule, working on some stories. Stay tuned. I'm hoping to get this so that we're doing this pretty regularly, several nights a week, if you're okay with that. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Here's where you can find me 24/7. I'm on Facebook, Nate Eaton Reporter. Join me over on my Instagram page, Nate N. Eaton, and then Nate News Now on X and also YouTube. If you haven't subscribed, that helps us reach more people. It helps you get alerted when we're posting stuff. Go ahead and hit subscribe, and you can head over to our Meetin' the Eatons YouTube channel and check it out there. All right, I head back home to Idaho tomorrow. Early morning flight, like super early. And it'll be nice to be back home, going to the state fair this weekend. It's Labor Day weekend, a lot happening. And then, of course, as I mentioned, CrimeCon next week. So I hope you have a great Labor Day. Thanks so much for watching Courtroom Insider, and we will see you next time.